All right, kids, welcome back to Big Board. Let's try and have a quick look here. I don't want to sort of dwell too long on this because we're getting pretty close to a stopping point, let's have a look at why that may or may not be the case. It's now what have I got here? The 29th, and that is going to be the end of the 29th, right? So, unfortunately for the Germans, 2 turns, bad rolls, no supply, curtailed most activities. I am down to, so in the last turn on the 29th, I just got 2 SP in. So I now have 3 SP with a couple of T's floating around there somewhere and a couple here. So slim and grim for the Germans in terms of ability to counterattack, ability to build hedgehogs as they've pulled back from the Kerch Strait, a little peninsula doohickey thing here, and trying to use this 2-3 hex wide zone here to kind of hold the line, maintain the VPs they have while they consider. Let me see if I can just loosen up. I've got actually got the camera installed on the dolly the wrong way, so let me loosen this up. Bang it across over to here. And we can see these 1, 2, 3. Is that one there? 4, actually. 4, and this one, I guess, that's Sevastopol. That ain't going to happen. 4 sites here, hexes here. If I can capture those hexes, I receive 4 victory points. 2 for this one. So you get whatever the hedgehog count was, you get that. That's my reading of it anyway, and then these hedgehogs are reduced automatically once you capture one. I captured this guy here down to 2 for gameplay purposes, but for VP counting, it's 4 is my understanding. This would be 2, and this would be 2. So the problem is we've tried a couple of times in here at great expense, both in terms of supply and steps, that we have failed to do very much here. And in the last couple of turns, Sevastopol has been reinforced by additional units, which have slightly better ARs, and that's making this whole exercise here basically fruitless / pointless, because we're really not able to get over a 4-to-1 attack in very close terrain. Pretty much going to guarantee us a step loss as the Germans, and not much of a penalty for the Soviets. Excuse me. They've been eating an apple, and it's decided to play games. So what was I going to say? So the Soviets, obviously, if they get a DO1, if the Axis take their loss, it'll force a step loss. But we're losing more steps here than we are inflicting here, and they're starting to slowly bring more units in. So it's not even a zero-sum game here. It's just it's a meat grinder, and we're losing the battle there. Cannot bomb these 2 battleships over here, or this battleship and this cruiser. The flak modifiers are stupid. Bad for the Axis, so they're not going to do that, and we're not going to lose units that we could be applying to combat power manifestations and all that sort of fun stuff in these areas to run the high risk of getting 1 VP or 2 VPs for sinking the Sevastopol. So back over here, as I said, we attempted to pull back. The Soviets had invaded, done a pretty good job, but the Germans reacted quickly. The Germans thought the invasion would happen further north, up in the western side of the Savash, up in the Gulf of Perekop, to the left of your screen here. So it's just kind of up there. You can just see it out of frame, right up here, right? So, or just in the top of the frame, I should say, not out of frame. So rushed forces back down here, executed some good attacks. The Soviets couldn't push because of the port capacity limits. Couldn't push enough units in there to keep what was ostensibly a bridgehead, quite significant bridgehead that would have allowed us to, kind of, push up into this rail line and maybe head up into this hex here, which then would be game over for the Germans because the Axis, because they would all be out of trace basically. So instead, we're pushing every unit that we can to the west along this peninsula. We're piling up some big bad guys. We've got a bunch of artillery here ready to go. And we'll begin this exercise of punching on these two hexes, which are fairly substantial. This is a 743, a 443. There's a reserve unit here ready to jump into the breach that has either 4 or 5 4 rated unit, and AR rated, and this has got 2 armored units and a 743 as well, flak AT guns, you know, the 88s probably. So tough. And here it's a bit of a stalemate. We managed to eliminate 1 Soviet unit here, and we're trying to isolate, but to no effect, because they're supplying the hex and they have trace out of here, and now they can trace this way as well. So currently sitting at 16 VPs for the Soviets, 8 for the Germans. If the Germans could pick up 2 hexes on the left over near Sevastopol, then it'd be a draw. I could certainly see that happening if I was prepared to bleed of the 3 divisions. One is at half strength. Another is at half strength. One has lost 1 step. One thing the Germans have done is picked up quite a few packs. So they've been able to rebuild, and I think there's another division under here. Let me just scoot you down here. I'm going to try and get that guy out of the way. I think these are just Romanian dudes. No, there's another division there. So that's also taken 1 step loss. So and there are these 2 guys, this Cav unit and the mountain unit. Pretty good stuff, but really only able to attack from a couple of different hexes here. It's a bit tricky, and lots of supply required to make any sort of effective attacks. And then, as I said earlier on, it's either going to be a 3-to-1 or a 4-to-1, just for odds reasons, just because it is what it is. So I'm, in terms of OCS being my favorite operational, logistics-heavy maneuver warfare game, this has started out as very much a World War I trench affair, and it has continued in that vein. Down here, it ends up that every attack, basically, you need to roll a 9 or better for anything substantial to happen, and you need to do that 3 times. Once for the surprise roll. Once for the air barrage or the arty barrage, once for the surprise roll, and then once for the attack, right? So it's just kind of gotten a little tedious over here. This section of the map was quite fun and quite enjoyable. A little bit of game playing in terms of where things were going to land, and we managed to work that out okay. Getting out across the Kerch Strait was a little tricky. Once the freeze finally happened. The other kick in the nuts for both sides has been that it's been limited flight for all but 1 turn in the last 4 or 5. So fascinating, interesting, historically, I would say, probably historically accurate, probably thematically on point. Mass casualties, lots of pain, lots of frustration for both sides. Not the operational sort of maneuver warfare I'm looking for. I think this will be best played attached to Third Winter, which, as everybody knows, we'll need to wait until we get up into the big house and get off this single map format that we are stuck with in the moment. So I'm going to wrap this bad boy up, I think, at this point where I think I said 10, either 9 or 10 turns in, one way or the other. I'm just not in the mood to sit here and do attritional stuff. I've got too much other good gaming on my plate that I think I should be paying attention to. We've got a taste of this. It's OCS. I'm a fan of it. Go buy it, right? Go buy it if you're fascinated with the Sevastopol campaign. This is the one for you. I would not recommend buying it, however, if you are looking to get into OCS and get excited about it. This ain't your Huckleberry. It may be a small footprint learning game, particularly these smaller scenarios. but I don't believe it brings out all of the best in for OCS. I would look at other titles that we've all discussed in the past that you can go find pretty cheaply. In any case, good stuff. Talk to you soon.